My hot take for the season would be that fashion is looking weirder than it has in a very long time. And that's incredibly exciting. You had Versace do their show this season, which was by its new designer, Dario Vitale, who took it in this direction that I don't think anybody saw coming. Versace went in a really excessive direction, but not in the way of like safety pins and chain link or anything like that. It went in this over-accessorized kind of wild spread of clothes and necklaces and handbags and shoes and patterns and everything like that. The looks were very intentionally overstyled. The whole thing, if I were to just summarize it in a couple of words, it would be like Italian excess and just like bold, unapologetic glamour. But I think looking at that Versace show, you can kind of glean that the mood this season was very much about individuality. I think people are probably tired of, quiet luxury ultimately renders like everybody looking the same. So I think that this season we saw so many brands pushing for real individuality and weirdness to shine through. It feels like the world is getting more conservative at times, and thinking about and looking at how fashion designers responded to that, whether that was nodding to that culture of conservative kind of ideas that really seem to be like permeating across the world, or having this completely like radical opposition to those ideas and just really going, women's wear shouldn't be to hide you or hold in your body. It should be about just letting everything be free and bare and out there, and what, a woman's kind of life looks like in 2025. And that was reflected as well at Prada, which was all about that idea of like what women should wear while the world is in crisis, and the clothes were very weird. I mean, Prada can always go in a weird direction and it can be really kooky and out there, but this was especially weird for Prada, which I love. And I think the capstone of the season, which was sort of the ultimate fashion moment, was the Chanel show. I mean, it was on the second last day of Paris Fashion Week, and everybody kind of took this exhale when Chanel happened, because we've been waiting for it for such a long time and waiting for what the new designer Mathieu Blasi would do. He was announced 10 months ago as the new designer at Chanel, and the fact that fashion has basically just been sitting and waiting to see what the new direction for Chanel was going to be. The fact that there was so much secrecy around the show, and all of a sudden when everybody walked in, there was just these planets like in the show space. Everybody was kind of looking at that and being like, what is going on? It was just so out there and so different for Chanel, and done in a way that I don't think anybody had ever really imagined that Chanel could be or look anything like that. And I think ultimately the way that that's going to trickle down to what we wear is that people are going to eventually start to get more idiosyncratic and individual in the kinds of clothes they wear, and maybe not be so slavish to like investment pieces or feeling like they have to invest in something that's super timeless and that they can wear again and again, and just really like run with the weirder side of you. That definitely feels like, fashion is headed in that direction. And I think it's usually months and months and months before we see those trends kind of trickle down into the real world. I mean, Greta Lee just stepped out on the red carpet wearing the big bow back look from Jonathan Anderson's Dior collection, which is such a unique take on like a classic Dior silhouette. And I think with all of these new designers starting at different houses, you're going to see heritage be reinterpreted in such interesting ways. And seeing these new designers who are really radical and charged and creative pull those into a new generation is going to be so interesting to see. And obviously we always see that manifest on celebrities and what famous people wear. On top of that, there was also this really interesting element of corsetry and kind of restraint that was happening at so many of the shows. I mean, like you had Odem, which was all about, it was inspired by Marie Antoinette, that collection. So you had these really like tight corsets and big sort of like bloomer-like silhouettes. You had Dilara Findikoglu, which is such a brand that everybody is just like, what is she going to do every season? And she presented all of these stripped back kind of corsets that would sort of look like they'd been pulled off the body, and reclaiming the corset, which is obviously something that for a long time was meant to keep women constrained and sort of hidden and shape their bodies in a way that was unnatural, turning that into a really like sexual and beautiful reclamation of femininity. So that was really interesting to see. But I think that one thing that I'm really fascinated by is so many designers this season seem to be commenting in their own ways on like the trad wife aesthetic. Then you also had brands like Prada that were presenting this idea of, like women's bodies just being out there and not held back or held together or pinned in. I mean, you had these bras that were basically like falling off the body. I think fashion is kind of moving past that idea of having to shape yourself for fashion and moving into this idea of just be who you are and yeah, just own it.